Welcome. We got another one for you today with PropStream. Burton, I almost said welcome to the Lab Code Agents podcast. That's what I was going to tell you. Because we were talking about podcasts, and we do ours on Friday. So I'm like,
we could do both.
All right, tell me about this before we get going on topic. I want to know about the podcast you have with PropStream. What is it about?
Yeah, so PropStream launched a podcast late last year. It's just really talking about real life stories. I've listened to a lot of podcasts. A lot of them are amazing. I highly recommend that you do at least listen to a few. It's inspirational. You can learn a lot of good information in terms of strategies and stuff like that. But what I decided to do was to talk about the story of the individual. And the reason I say that is I've been working with PropStream for about 13 years now. I think this is my 13th year. I travel and I listen to a lot of people. And what I discovered is that a majority of us didn't dream about being in real estate. Like, it wasn't a thing when we were kids. Like, we had other ambitions and maybe other dreams or career options in mind. But then life just happened, right? And some of us got kicked in the teeth. That's okay. I'm a firm believer, like, all of that needed to happen so that when you come into real estate, you understand what these homeowners are going through and you're able to connect even more. So that's our show. Our show is really just let's talk life. And you'd be surprised how there's a full circle in most of these episodes of like who they were before and how they've utilized these challenges as ammunition to further their journey in real estate. That's just kind of our format.
I like that. I like that approach too. And right now, the podcast world, there's a lot of people doing it. So I love that you went a different way with it. Good job.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, again, I think it's just very inspirational. I love sharing stories. I love hearing stories. And I truly believe there's someone out there who's not in real estate yet that might be, in the slums or just feeling like life isn't great. Don't give up yet. As a matter of fact, what you're going through is definitely going to help you when you reach out to Tristan or other real estate individuals who are here to support you and here to help you learn and ultimately achieve your dreams, your financial freedom.
Love it, buddy. Good job. Keep it up, man. And season
Thank you.
3?
Season 3 comes out, I think we're trying to aim for June, so look out for that. But if you want to listen to season 1, season 2 stories, those are available on all streaming platforms.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you.
We'll promote that too. I like that. We'll promote it. I didn't even know. So
I appreciate that. Yeah.
All right. 6 ways to help flippers score bigger deals. I'm curious. Where do I start? My cousin just joined our brokerage. Her name's Janelle. I was drawing a blank. I'm like, it's my cousin. Janelle, and she's a flipper. And so we talked about PropStream 2 weeks ago. So yes, she uses it. A lot of investors do, a lot of landlords. Where do we start with this?
I think, to me, the way my brain works is like, what level of experience are you as a flipper? And so no shame in whether you're just starting or you're doing hundreds of them every single month. I'd like to address, where do you start if you're new to fix and flipping? And I think that's where a lot of people kind of get discouraged or they get hesitant or sometimes they get stuck in analysis paralysis. And what I mean by that is I'm trying to pick the best possible investment property and I got one chance at doing it, right? Because you're not starting off doing 100 flips. You're usually going to start off with one, see how that works, and then repeat that process. And sometimes if that first one is not good, it can be very detrimental, and that potentially could eventually be the last time someone actually does it. So where I'd like to start is what most people are thinking about when they're about to get into fix and flipping, and they like a certain market. So I'm here, like, let's say in Orange County, California. I'll be frank with you. I wouldn't be able to fix and flip a property here. The properties here are extremely expensive. And so it's out of my range. But, as a consumer, just like you listening, there are a few cities in mind that I would probably want to consider flipping in, Vegas, Phoenix, Texas, Fresno, California are just a few things in mind that I would consider. So as you're listening to this, you probably already have a few markets in your head. Utilize that. Type it in PropStream, pull up that market, and then here's how to best determine what markets you should focus in on. And that's just utilizing our data. Go into the filter menu once you pull up your market and just select fix and flippers or the flippers database. There are already experienced flippers in this market. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. You just got to follow the behaviors of already existing flippers in this market. So I'm in Fresno for this example. I selected flippers in our filter menu lead list category option. And the last thing I'm going to do is just tell PropStream I'm not looking for any flipper, but a flipper that's doing residential single family, because that's what I plan on doing as well. And so once we narrow down the flippers that are doing residential single family properties, in this case 212 in Fresno, California for this example, I can do one of two things. I can go off this list and kind of look at some of the properties they're working on, see what they're doing. So for this property right here that's listed at 359, it's located in a zip code that's 93726. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom property, square footage, lot size. We see the year built. I can go through the photos. I can see now what it takes in this particular zip code, right? The condition, the renovation, in order to get that listing price, 359, right? So if you want to list a property in this zip code at this price point, this is what it has to look like. And then the cash transaction tab. This actually tells you what they bought it for as well in order for them to make that profit.
I like that.
So in this case, this cash buyer bought this property in March 15th of 2025 for $100,000 in cash. And they just started listing it. So April 19th, that's just about 5 days ago, they listed it for about $359. So lots of information here. Maybe you're not Burton who thinks like data, but again, photos, that lets me know the type of condition it needs to be in to get listed at 359, the length of time it potentially took them to do this renovation, right? And then the amount of money they're willing to spend in this market in order for it to be profitable. And so for someone who doesn't live in Fresno, that's a lot of information that I have.
But you
so
make
that's
me more
where
confident about doing something, because the thing that challenges me in investing in a place is I don't know that I have enough information. That's always my challenge.
Exactly. And that's where I would first start off with for anybody that's kind of just, hey, I want to do my first flip. Where do I go? Where do I begin? Data tells a lot. So search that market, click on our flippers list, isolate the type of property you're trying to flip. So if you're doing duplexes, click on duplexes, in this case, single family, and then go through the options and then look at them. Here's another little trick, and I think we showed this in a previous episode as well, but there's a tab right here next to your results. And what I like to do is I like to click on that, and it gives me this spreadsheet view. And what I like about the spreadsheet view is that all these headers at the top can be manipulated. So not only am I in Fresno, a potential market I like to flip in, and not only do I click on a property and get a lot of information on how that flip kind of went, how it started and how it ended, but what I can do with this spreadsheet view is I can actually break this result list, these 212 addresses, by zip code. And I think that's important because that lets me know which zip code is the most popular zip code for flips in this particular market. Again, no need to reinvent the wheel, no need to try to go in a different direction. These established business owners, flippers, LLCs, they know the information. So it's one of those thought processes where like, hey, I'm not trying to beat them, so let's join them because that they already know that 93701 is a potential hot zip code. Actually, as a matter of fact, 93702, as you can see, had nearly 20 flips in the last year. So,
dude, I like this, man. See, this is the type of stuff that I need to have with me, because if it's not just for me, it's for my clients, right? In my area.
I love that. And then here, let's now move on to the next tier, right? So let's say you've done your first flip, you made some profit. Oh man, you got the bug. You want to do this again and again. Well, the reality is, if you go on the MLS, which is like realtor websites, properties that are on market, um, it's really hard to find a good deal, and that's why PropStream has become very popular for fix and flippers. Is because we specialize in identifying distressed off-market properties, which means you don't need to use the MLS to find these properties. You can actually go into PropStream, and let's kind of show you an example here. Let's say today I want to flip. As a matter of fact, Tristan, give me a market. Let's do this. Put me on the hot seat.
I like. Let's do Tampa, Florida.
Tampa, Florida. Okay, so we're in Tampa,
Mm-hmm.
and let's say I looked up through the MLS, and they're just not good deals that have the right margins I need to fix and flip. That's okay. PropStream's here. Search Tampa, go into our filter menu, and you have several categories to identify distressed homeowner. For example, we have pre-foreclosures, failed listings, liens, tax delinquencies, vacant properties. I like vacant because that lets me know there's no
Mm.
tenants, they're not answering their mail. Half of the work is done for most of us, right? So I'm going to build a quick list, but then I'm going to show you something really cool. So vacant single family properties that are residential. So we'll click
Okay.
residential for class, single family. MLS status, I want to make sure it's off market. And then we're going to probably reach out to these properties through some sort of marketing. And right now, I'm not trying to talk to like an LLC. So I would like to specify that I'm looking for individual owners. And let's just say I want someone who's at least been there for 10 years. Because then, again, they probably had a dream for this property. It just didn't unfold for them in the way that they wanted it to. And last but not least, flippers, right? We need equity. So let's go ahead and go into the value and equity section here. And you can do 50% equity, 100%. We'll let you decide. I'll do like 80 or 70% for this example.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do
I
70% in
like
equity
70.
here. All right, so just a quick list rundown. We're looking for vacant properties. These are properties no longer answering their mail.
Yep. Gotcha.
Single family residential that are off market. Again, that's the luxury of having PropStream. These are individuals that have owned it for 10 years and they have about 70% or more in equity. So there are my 410 properties. So if you
Damn.
thought that was cool, amazing. But
Yes.
this is the part I want to really dive into, and that's when you start looking at these properties. So let's say, okay, 410 properties, I market to them, a homeowner is interested in selling, and that's, San Juan, this property off San Juan Street. Well, as I showed you earlier, you can go into the property and you can get a lot of valuable information. Is there a mortgage? The demographics? How many years has this owner owned this property? Just 2.5 weeks ago, our company introduced AI into PropStream, and that's now located at the very bottom right. Every time you pull up a property, you'll see this little button here. It says PropStream Intelligence on the bottom right of your screen. And if you click on that, you'll get this chat box that appears, and you can ask it some good things. In this case, walk me through the fix and flip numbers. And our AI will literally just look at our data. This is what's powerful about our AI. It's not being disrupted by outside data bases. We've contained this AI of ours. And so while we're using the same AIs that most people are using out there to build their systems and other things, the difference is that those platforms typically use public data. We have the luxury of using our data, and in the need, sometimes we can go outside. But what we've discovered over the last 20 years of being PropStream, our data is what has made us who we are today. And so we told our development team, put in AI, but let's make sure it only focuses on our data and our data alone. And as you can see here, it just gave me a breakdown. So what purchase price are you targeting? 3802, right? Estimated value. It gives me
Mm.
the comparable cells. So right now I could say, well, I want to buy it for $100,000. But before I do that, the comparable cells, there's a discrepancy there, right? There's 500,000 estimated value. Comparable cells are 845. Now, normally our users would then go into the comparables and then run comps, but AI is here. Show me the top 5 comparables for this property. Again, our AI is going to look at our data, our public record data, our MLS data that we've collected over the last 20 plus years,
Nice.
and then it's going to print it out for you. While it's doing this, I also want to let you guys know it's not just the data that's important, it's the knowledge that we house within PropStream as well. For example, some of you guys are probably in a non disclosure state like Texas, Utah, Kansas. Our AI understands that. And so as you're running a comp in, let's say, Texas, it will tell you this is a non disclosure state and you might want to actually utilize MLS data. And so show me my MLS top 5 comps, and then we'll provide that for you. So it's giving me my 5 comps. It's going through the data, and then it should be spitting out my comps. Here you go. So here are the most relevant comps. And then it actually lists them out for you.
Damn.
And so we
See, once you
actually,
have the data, man, like AI works so beautifully. This
and
makes sense.
there you have it. So here are your comps. And if I wanted to, it's also actionable. I can go here at the very bottom, hit the open comparable tabs, and then I can also look at that same data that's being presented to me here on the right-hand side. I can readjust my comps. So for me, again, it's not just I could use PropStream to determine where in a certain market I should focus my fix and flip or my first fix and flip on. That's what we showed you earlier. 2, you can use our data to find those distress off-market properties that you may not be finding on the MLS because it's starting to get tough out there, right? So build a list using our lots of filters that we have and make sure it's off market so you get the biggest spread possible. And then 3, when you're pulling up these individual properties that you're reaching out to and have these homeowners on the phone, we don't need you to be, a developer or know how to move things around. That's where AI comes into place. Ask it if it's a good rental property. Ask it if this is a great fix and flip investment. What are my top 5 comps? What are my top 5 renter comps? We can provide you that as well if you're looking to list this property as a rental property as well.
I like that, man. And you know what? On what you're doing right now, I did this live with PropStream on stage, only because it was 2 weeks ago. I use PropStream as an example because every time you and I talk, I discover something new, and I always think, man, I need to do this. I need to do it. I feel like, first off, the user interface is beautiful, but there's a lot. You guys have a lot, okay? So I opened up PropStream on purpose. I'm like, listen, this is like your secret tool that you don't even know you need until you start looking at it. And you're like, I need this, right? So I opened it up with the browser Comet. It's Perplexity's browser. And I pay for Perplexity. So I turned it on and I said, okay, guys, you have no excuse on never using a very powerful and sometimes overwhelming product like PropStream because there's so many things you could do. Just talk to it. So I turned on Perplexity's browser talk and I said, hey, filter out all the possible sellers with an equity of 50% or more in, I was in Reseda, in the Reseda area, in Reseda, California, right? And then it took over my screen and started populating, and I said, there it is. And you can tell it to do whatever you want with it. And that was crazy, dude.
Yeah. There is some fun stuff that AI is starting to do. And for me, I think AI kind of is more of a support system. I truly believe it should not be a complete replacement system, but more of a support system. And that's why we did this. We did this because, to your point, for first-time users, even myself, sometimes when I look at a certain property, it's like drinking from a fire hydrant. There's a lot of data to look at. And so I think with this PropStream Intelligence, it's just able to help you control that noise, right? Let's control the noise by creating simple questions we need to ask it, and then kind of go from there. So thanks for sharing that, because I do agree. I think people need to start realizing the power of AI, and if you aren't adapting it in some way in your business, you might be left behind a little bit.
I agree, man. I agree. So when we're looking at something like this, and we're looking at it as an investment to help us get better investments everywhere else, you also have a list, and sometimes you don't show this, but it's powerful. Show me this list that I can then extract and then target on Facebook, or maybe even decide that I want to mail out to specifically, maybe just
Oh, I love that.
20 a month or just a smaller amount. But I need a large list if I'm going to retarget them on Facebook. I need a small list if I'm going to mail to and not go broke.
That's correct. And so that's the luxury of PropStream is you have that ability to really get very granular on your filtering. So if you're looking for a pretty big list, let's say I just want a list of 2 to 5,000 properties, you can do your thing, or you can get granular, just like we did a few moments ago: vacant, off market, a certain level of equity, certain type of property owner. And then once you have your results here on the right side, again, not only can you go into the details, use your AI data to really dissect that property, but you could select them all if you'd like and then add them to a marketing list. And so what we've just showed you so far is just simply filtering and manipulating our data. But once you have your few properties here, Tampa vacant, you can save them, and we're going to send them over into your My Properties area. Think of this like as your filing cabinet. And if you're just here for the data, you can go into the My Properties and then export that list onto a CSV file. So we go into My Properties. We're going to find our Tampa vacant list of 410 properties here. And if all I need is just this list because I'm going to upload it somewhere else, that's fine. Go ahead and select the addresses you want to export and hit our export button. However, PropStream's here to help you get closer to the owner, right? It's more than just the data. It's about connecting you to that owner. And so we do have skip tracing. And for those that don't know what that is, that means we can get you the phone numbers and the emails of these homeowners. And depending on your package, it's either free or 12 cents an address. And I will add this because this is very important for real estate professionals out there. Not only will we give you the phone numbers and the emails, we'll show you who's on the do not call list. And most importantly, I think this is even more important than the DNC, who's a litigator. So phone numbers, emails, do not call list, and then who's a litigator on your list.
Dude, I love this.
Yeah. And okay, so phone numbers, amazing. Now, okay, not only can I, use PropStream to determine it's a good market, use PropStream and look at the details when I'm talking to the owner, build a list, I can get phone numbers and emails as well. And then marketing. That is our campaign section. Our marketing has just gotten an update. And so the three things you can do, and the third one being the newest one, is you can now have a dialer with those phone numbers. And I don't know, for most people that have been following the real estate news, we acquired a company last year in the summer called Batch Dialer. They were known for having a dialer.
I remember that. Yep.
Yeah, so Batch Dialer is still a thing. I encourage for those that are doing tons of calls, and I mean tons of calls, definitely want to consider Batch Dialer. But if you're doing just like a few phone calls a day, let's say you're a solopreneur and you're not at that level yet where you need, a multi-channel dialer and you have a team of callers, then use our campaign. We have a dialer campaign. And so you click on that, you establish your leads, your phone numbers, or if you don't want to use our dialer campaign, we have a postcard section. You could send out postcards. We also have an email campaign. So these are the ways in which you can not only build a list, but hopefully get closer to that owner on our behalf.
I think this is great, dude. I love the rundown that you just did. It helps create clarity from the beginning all the way to how this works. So then lastly, if we're targeting these people through the system and they're coming through, where are we leading them to typically? Is it to a website? Is it to our phone? What have you seen works longer term?
Funny story. That's actually the first thing that we encourage you to do when you create a campaign. So if we created a Tampa vacant campaign and targeted our list, the first thing we suggest that you do is create a landing page. So let me just find our list really quick. As a matter of fact, let me just grab one random one. We'll hit the save button, and every time you create a campaign, you can have more than one. If you have 15 different marketing lists that you've created, we encourage you to have 15 different active campaigns. But the first thing you can do is set up a website. And so if you need a landing page, we have you covered. Fill out the information, create your landing page with PropStream. I personally like having a landing page for each campaign because it allows you to get specific to that specific category. So if you're building a tired landlord list, which we have in PropStream, then my landing page is probably going to say something about, are you tired of, tenant turnaround? Are you tired of your property being damaged by renters?
Mhm.
Right? I'm going to appeal to that type of list. If I have a list of senior owners that are living in 2 stories, which you could do in PropStream, right? Then my marketing page or landing page for that would probably say, are you looking to consolidate? Are you looking for a single story property? And so every active campaign that you have, in this case, I have 24 here on the left-hand side, uh, gets one landing page associated with it. And so click on your landing page after you create it, and you can see it. This is just a mock-up, but yeah, come over to my barbecue this weekend. You could put a background picture in here. As you can see, I'm goofing off here, but we obviously encourage you to use it correctly.
Yeah, but still, we get the point. I think that's important,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I think that's important.
absolutely.
I love this, man. All right, where do people sign up if they're curious about this?
Yeah, there's a link right there on your screen, a QR code. Go ahead and click on that. You do get a 7-day trial, so everything we showed you, except for the marketing stuff, because that is a la carte. Some of that stuff does cost. But building a list, dissecting property details, using our AI, definitely use that in the next 7 days. I actually challenge you to log into PropStream and during that trial period and build your first list. See what's out there, see what off-market distressed properties are out there. There's a lot of homeowners that could use your help that haven't reached out to a realtor or an investor like yourself. So I challenge you to build your first list and then reach out to these homeowners.
Dude, and if people don't know how to use this, go to your education classes that you have, your training, right? You have a lot of that. Where do we find
A
that?
lot, probably more than anything than we should. But yes, we have a free online academy. So if you're like a course taker, you like to test yourself, watch videos. Academy is free. We do daily live webinars at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time where we break
That's
down the
crazy, dude.
system. Eddie, a 20-year broker that we brought on board, his name is Eddie. He runs every Wednesday at 12 p.m. lunch and listings. So if you're a real estate agent and you want to learn more, that's something to consider. And then we
Lunch
do
and listings.
this.
What do you guys cover in lunch and listings?
Random topics like how to consider, what to consider when marketing, objective.
What is that? Where does that run? Does that run in the back end system, or where does it run?
It's directly through PropStream. If you go to our main website, propstream.com, click on resources, you'll see
Wait,
webinars.
show me on your screen.
Yeah. So propstream.com, right over here. And once you get to our main site, resource library, webinars and events. And then right here, you can learn about our daily webinars. And then
you guys run those on Zoom
lunch and
or StreamYard?
We do. We run them on Zoom, and then in case you can't make it, because again, we know you guys are busy, all of our live webinars are then sent over into the academy. And so if you want to watch a recording, you can. My suggestion, though, is if you're really trying to get like hands-on, let me ask questions while someone's there, the live webinars, every week we do them. So join one of them one day and just ask all your questions.
I like that. Dude, I'm getting some ideas here. Let me talk to the LCA team because I didn't know you guys do this every Wednesday.
Oh yeah, we love it. Maybe we can get you on one of these Wednesdays.
Yeah, I'd love to. But I was thinking maybe we can play it into the Facebook group live, so because it's very valuable. So I'm like thinking, I'll get back to you on it. I just reached out.
Yeah. I definitely need you I need to connect you with Eddie. I think you and Eddie would definitely. You guys have such good history in terms of what you guys do in the real estate space. I think you guys would definitely connect very well.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely, always.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. Have an awesome weekend.